Hello, my name is Vip Vipperman and excited to be back on the Back in the Bold podcast. Today I've got an amazing guest with an awesome background, Jason Williamson. Not only 15 years at Oracle Ventures, but serial entrepreneur. We're excited to have you with us today, Jason.
Thanks, Vip. It's good to see you again, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, now that we're jumping in, Jason,
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about your background. How did you
sure.
get to become an entrepreneur? And also, where are you in the world this morning?
I am dialed in. I guess we don't say that anymore. From Charlottesville, Virginia, so just right in the Appalachians, on grounds at the University of Virginia, actually. So that's where we live, and
Beautiful part of
that's
the
where the
country.
it is, and that's where the heartbeat of True Path Vision is right now. So yeah,
Awesome. Well,
but
tell us a little bit of the story.
yeah, sure. So. The I guess my background is it's super eclectic. And it's funny, people ask me like, how do you get into this and how did you become an entrepreneur? It goes all the way back to when I was 15 years old, actually. And so
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever told you this in our many times together, but I spent some time doing missions work in the summer. You know, a lot of people in church will do their like 2 week missions. Um, but I had a chance to do like 3 months. And so my folks let me go do that. And it was in the 80s behind the Iron Curtain, very exciting and adventurous for a 15-year-old. And so we
Wow.
would live on the Soviet border and smuggle Bibles into the Soviet Union and do construction work and fun things like that. And
Amazing.
so it was there though that I felt, which is going to be like, how does this have anything to do with startups? I remember very clearly just kind of having a break at lunch, and we were doing some construction projects on a border town in Hungary. And I really was impacted by the extreme need and poverty of that country. And it hit me that it had nothing to do with the lack of resources
Hmm.
that that country had. I mean, we're in Europe. We're surrounded by lots of really smart people, lots of great resources, yet I'm surrounded by poverty. And this is not a big light bulb for most people, but I was 15. And so I was thinking, man, who's influencing the influencers? Like these
Hmm.
people are suffering because of the spiritual corruption of leadership. That's
Hmm.
so. In our missions world, we focus on the poor, which is awesome. We're focused on the needy. That's awesome. We got to continue to do that. But I feel like we often forget about those in power, and they need Jesus. And what impact would that have? And so I knew at that moment that's what I was going to do. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew
Okay.
that's what it was going to do. And so I was
Interesting.
going to help be an influencer of influencers for the gospel. And I love technology and I love business. And so I was able to kind of bring those two things together as I developed my career. And so anything I did growing, from what I studied in school and companies I went to, kind of had that in mind was influencing influencers. And so there you go. That's kind of the super backstory. I worked in startups in the 90s and 2000s, had my own venture backed company in North Carolina doing residential construction, and
Okay.
ended up finding my way into kind of big corporate world at Oracle, as you mentioned. So I had the great opportunity to work in Larry Ellison's office, doing startups and venture, and then also we had something called Oracle for Research, which was like really entrenching into researchers and. We call them PIs, principal investigators, primary investigators in the university world. Um, and so that's kind of my background. I also had a 4 year slice where I had the opportunity to start the private equity program at Amazon Web Services too, kind of in their big hockey stick growth, as well as
Interesting.
working with the influencers there, Bain, McKinsey, BCG, and their digital labs. Um, so I've had the opportunity to be a startup guy and be in the corporate world and be in academia and just kind of do all these different things. But again, all for that vision of saying like, how do we influence it? How do we increase our sphere of influence so
Hmm.
that we can impact the world for the gospel?
Dude, that's really amazing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not the true path answer, but like that's kind of the like how I got into the startup space.
Yeah. Fascinating. So, how did that lead to
Sure.
TruePath?
Yeah. So I guess it's been 2 or 3 years now. My wife and I had an event space in Charlottesville where we were doing weddings and things like that. And Susan
Okay.
was like, man, we need to do Night to Shine here. And so um, for those of you who are listening, don't know what Night to Shine is. That is one of the primary events from the Tim Tebow Foundation, where we honor uh, uh, those with special needs as created in God's image and kings and queens. So it's one night across the world for a prom. The funny story is that we never ended up getting to do that, but we got connected into TTF, which is how we met. That it was through TTF, the Tim Tebow Foundation, and so. With my technology background, I was able to support TTF and a lot of their anti-trafficking work. And so we had stepped into a project where we were supporting some entities doing victim ID. And
Okay.
so we were looking, and there's some companies out there that do facial recognition, and they've gotten some into some hot water, let's say, for how they've acquired images. And so we were thinking, man, we maybe we can come up with a way to do an ethical way to find images of people that don't violate privacy. And
Mm.
as we were stepping in, this was a time when that I was getting engaged with Eagle Ventures, and so I was sitting here building this stuff and working with these guys. I'm like, there's a company here, man, and that's how I got connected. Just all in God's timing is when we all started coming together, and we could talk about the journey outside of law enforcement into hospitality, but that's how we started, and we had our first birthday last week, I think, a year
Oh
ago.
wow!
Yes,
Congratulations,
so
1 year.
yeah, 1 year.
Pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yes,
So, well, talk to me a little bit about the problem that you guys saw
sure.
when you were building TruePath, because I know, I mean, you mentioned, facial recognition, some of the stuff there, but talk to us a little bit about what exactly it is. But
Sure.
really, the problem you guys saw that needed to be solved.
So the first problem that we were solving, and it, you start pulling a thread, you realize there's other problems to solve that
Right.
but that computer vision can solve and
Mm,
fix. So the first problem we were trying to solve was low cost. That's important. Um, Facial matching
mm,
for victims and bad actors. So, facial recognition is not a new thing. Other people are doing it, but can you do it in a way that's super low cost, where I don't have to do a lot of capital expenditure, and I can do it in a way that's not going to violate all kinds of privacy laws?
gotcha.
That's the hard part, and so that's what we set out to do. And so, in fact, we've got a couple patents that we've recently filed on, so we're really excited about that. But
Amazing.
that, yeah. So as we started stepping in out of law enforcement into hotels and hospitality, we realized there was a huge problem there. And so, there's about 80% of trafficking in the United States happens in a hotel.
Okay.
And it's not, everybody thinks it's maybe the shady hotel in the corner. That's true, but it's also the big brands that you and I all know. It's the hotels are not immune, or I should say, uh, any class of life is not immune to trafficking, as we see in the news. When somebody gets arrested, it's not uncommon for them to be a CEO or something like that. So,
Mm,
these traffickers will make their way through hotels, and so we realized we had an opportunity to help the trust and safety side, because it's becoming a risk issue for the hoteliers. So not only do they want to stop bad things from happening,
mm,
it's impacting their wallet.
yeah.
That's what the real motivator is, right? And
Mm,
so it's becoming a risk issue. If you go look at the news, you'll see not small settlements hitting hotel chains like 75 million and above for just a case of trafficking. And so we were brought in to be able to help identify potential victims,
mm,
identify maybe workers that are being trafficked by local pimps, and then bad actors that are coming through. And so that was the problem we're solving. What we realized after that is we have an opportunity to do much, much more within the hotel space. And we can go talk about that in a second. But the problem that we're solving is also you don't have to do a huge capital expenditure. So
mm,
if there's a camera in place already in your hotel, and they all are,
mm,
everybody's got cameras. You walk in, you see them. Um, Most cameras that are developed in the past 5 years, 10 years, have the ability to stream to the internet locally or publicly, like your Ring camera, right? So our patented technology allows you to AI enable existing cameras so that you can do all of that there. And you don't have
Oh,
to like rip out your CCTV and put all new stuff. You can, and we can
well,
help you do that, but
right.
that's the low cost strategic way to do that. Then we might put in some more strategic cameras, to kind of watch stuff. So we solved the problem with like ethical way to get faces, lower cost, and then we'll talk in a second on how that expands across different areas within the hotel space beyond just trust and safety. So, yeah,
No, that's amazing. So it sounds like you're not only keeping the people who stay in the hotel safer, but you're actually protecting the brand itself from those problems that it can have, the risk, like you said, the risk
correct,
situations. By trying to keep, the trafficker out
correct, correct.
and keeping them from being on the front page of the Wall Street Journal or local news and stuff like that. I know I heard a recently like a $40 million case that was settled in Decatur, Georgia, I believe, and some stuff like
Mhm.
that. But the prices continue to just go up. We've
Correct.
heard that there's as many as 40 hotel brands in legislation, in litigation now.
Correct.
So
Correct.
the
That's
problem
not small.
isn't going away.
It's not
Um,
going away. It's not going away.
and
And
for
this
good
is,
reason. It's
that's
drawing
right.
attention to the problem, which is trafficking is happening in these hotels.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. And so, I mean, that's our ultimate dream is to know that every hotel is protected from this scourge, but we also are doing it in a way that is not mass surveillance. That's the fine line that one has to walk in this space. That's where some of this bad press is coming from. So we're not like when you walk into a hotel, we're not going, that's Vip, that's Jason. That's not what we do. We don't identify every human. We're looking for known bad actors, and so that's
okay.
that's the line between facial recognition, which means I'm going to recognize every face, versus identification of a select group of individuals. But it
Okay.
goes beyond that too. So there's some places where maybe legislation makes that a little bit more difficult to do. So maybe we can't do that. We were brought into a very high end brand. Like really high end experience, and they started asking us questions like, well, if you can match a face, like, oh, there's Vip, he's really special. Make sure we roll out the red
Right,
carpet for him.
right, right.
Can you also do other things that maybe we need? I'm like, oh yeah. And they started asking. So that allowed us to expand our portfolio. So not only are we now looking at everything I mentioned is real time. A lot of the other technology we'll see out there is post event.
Okay.
And so we started expanding that to like, oh wait, there's 10 people at the front desk and one of them's angry. Like
Mm.
we don't have to do face matching to count people to look at the ratio of employees to people.
Right.
We can start measuring mood. And so hey, is there a wine glass in the hallway that's been there for an hour? Somebody needs to be alert that. So we've expanded that to customer experience.
Oh,
And
nice.
so that was the really cool thing. And so now are we doing face matching? We're doing object recognition. So, there's the administrator can type in like, tell me if a gun is here, or tell me if the wine glass is in the hallway on camera 2. And if it is, send a SMS to the
Someone
cleaning
needed it.
department. Correct. And then the last thing, which is really exciting, is the post-event activity. So say there's an altercation in a hallway, and typically what has to happen is the on-site security has to comb through 10 hours of video, right? Looking, talking, writing down, okay, I got to look for the guy in the red hoodie,
Right, right.
all of that. So we can compress that time greatly. So real time is what we just talked about, post-event activity. So they upload their image, they type in, red Coke can, red hat, hoodie, and it will just mark every time that happened. In
Yeah.
addition, we can look for words. So, I want to know when, VIP said, "You ugly guy." And it will tell you every time that VIP said that word. And it's in 90 different languages. So we're able to do
Oh
audio
wow.
anal audio analysis,
Analysis.
object analysis, and
Okay.
obviously,
The
I want to
future.
find this person. We might not know who that is. We're not face wrecking, but we can say like this guy showed up like 4 times. I don't know who he is, but like so. What happens is all that gets be able to packaged up for security, so that they can deploy that to law enforcement for their own records. Because what happens is that they go into a case and like, did you try to stop trafficking? And they're like, we did, and so that
Hmm.
greatly reduces the risk. So we're here. What we've been able to realize is we can absolutely put a dent in that safety, but then we can increase customer experience while we're at it, and
Hmm.
we don't have to increase costs that much, right? It's
Nice.
just a small uptick. So
That's really
there you go.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cool. All in
It's
a year.
incredible what you can do with software these days and
It
that
really is.
quickly. It's really amazing
Correct.
how AI is picking things up. Well,
Correct.
talk to us. You built that product at that speed. Uh, because is it related at all to building it in the lab kind of venture studio type situation?
Venture Studio is huge for us.
Okay. Tell
I've
me a
done a
little
lot
bit
of.
about that.
Yeah, so I've had some, I've had my own share of startups where I'm IT, I'm banking, I'm finance, I'm accounting, and I'm bad at all of those, by the way. And so the lab, the Eagle Venture Lab was huge for us because what it did was it allowed us to like go develop, like cast the vision, hands on keyboard. We did have a little stable of people that we could vet from the lab to say, okay, I need this guy and this guy, while we built up our own bench. But then all the other things that came with it, like our design work, our UI experience, our accounting, our finance, it was huge. That was a big deal for us to be able to get ramped up. We didn't have to worry about some of the operational issues that typically would slow one down, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so building in a venture studio environment has really helped ramp things a lot quicker.
A lot quicker. And I would like to differentiate that from like a accelerator,
Okay.
right? Like we didn't like come into this and like we're gonna get a class in what venture is, and we're gonna get a class in organizational behavior, and here's a program. Like those are all really good for green, just starting out entrepreneurs. But when
Right.
you've got like seasoned people who know what they need to do, it just lets them run really fast. And
Okay.
that's what I love about the studio.
Nice. Nice. Well, talk to me about one story that might really define the work you guys are doing. Is there an
Sure.
example? I know you guys have already done some major events and some different kinds of things like
Sure.
that.
Sure. Sure. I think probably one of our first projects we did would be a good one to draw from. I'll leave the brand out right now, but we had a project at the Super Bowl. As you know, that can often be a place to attract a lot of bad actors. And
Hmm.
so we had a very small list. Just this was a test. We were in 6 hotels across a 6-hour drive from um, Bay St. Louis, which is way east in a different state, all the way into Louisiana to the west. And so um, we drove around 6 hours, put in our AI gear, and then let it run for a week. And we were in what less than 1% of hotel rooms in the region for just a few days. We
Hmm.
were looking for 14 people. And I honestly thought, I'm like, I don't love this test. This just seems really hard.
Yeah.
And so, two really interesting things happened. One, we found some of those people on the list, which really helped the hotel chain because they were on guard for like, I need to know when these people show up because this is not good for us.
Hmm.
And then the second thing is we've curated a publicly available database of offenders, certain kinds of offenders, and again, ethically curated, legal to do. And head of the hotel security said, "Hey, can you flip that switch? We want to start kind of paying attention to those guys too." And as soon as I did that, we had a hit within 3 seconds, and
Oh wow.
it was really important to that group, and so they were able to run their analysis. We did this in partnership with Hotel Shield, and so they were able to do some pattern of life activities, and we were able to contribute to that. And it was great for them because they could put them on their do not serve list, and that happened many times in that particular
Yeah,
time. So
short
for
window.
us, it proved it out. It lowered their risk, and it was a fantastic experience for us.
Yeah, because unfortunately, what we're hearing is like sporting events, like major global sporting events, and just
Correct.
entertainment events in general, because they attract a lot of people who are coming from different parts of the country, from out of town.
Absolutely.
Also, the opportunity for trafficking goes up significantly because people are in hotel rooms
It does.
nearby and making some tough, you know,
It
bad
does.
choices.
And then what you're realizing, I think what it's discovered too is, once you start getting into this space in this world, it becomes heavier and darker, and it's not
Mm.
just the sex worker. It was clear you could see like humans were getting moved for purposes of working, so other kinds of slavery. So
Mm.
um, I'm looking forward to being able to up level that as we collaborate with different groups around the country to not just trying to stop child trafficking, but also just slave labor, which is very prolific as well.
Yeah, it's funny that it's interesting to say like that's happening here
You're
in the
right,
US. Like a lot of times people are like, "Oh no, that's a thing that happens over there."
right,
But I mean, this was a major sporting event in the US. These are common hotel brands in the US. This isn't over there kind of stuff. This is in
correct,
your backyard in,
correct,
in town. Yeah.
correct. That's right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's a sad thing, but we're excited to see that you guys are making progress in fighting it. Um, so talk to me a little bit about the momentum you're feeling right now in the space.
Yes, it is really exciting because once we had that project done, that was really early, like months after we started. So, if anybody has kind of been in the startup world, that's where you kind of get to work out a lot of the bumps, and you're like, well, that didn't work, or that really worked really well, and we're still a year old, so we're still going through that. Like, if I move my camera around, you could see developers in here clicking away, like, I got to make this work. But the momentum is that allowed us to A, meet people, but B, expand our opportunities. So we've gone from just, that project that we did in coordination with Hotel Shield to um, starting to get other significant brands in project pipeline for us right
Yeah.
now, and so we're really excited about that, as well as some other nonprofits that are working diligently in the anti-trafficking space, because we've also made our technology available as an API. So
Mm.
if people want to develop their own things on top of it, they can do that. So
Oh,
we've
nice.
got 3 or 4 projects in flight that we will be signing contracts on, hopefully in the next several weeks, in for the API, so that people can continue to develop on top of that. So that's really exciting for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really encouraging to hear progress being made in this space. So, talk to me a little about building a company. I mean, like you said, you're in the venture studio
Sure.
situation. You're a serial entrepreneur. So, I mean, you've done these kind of things before. 15 years at Oracle and in the venture department there, even.
Sure.
But what are 3 or 4 of the lessons that you've learned over time that are really helping you as you build this current venture?
Yes, I think there's a couple things. One, I joke with one of your GPs, Wade Myers, about this. I call it the pie rule.
Okay.
Um, whatever you think someone tells you, whatever, it's going to be 3.14 times longer. So
So that's
you're,
what you mean by pie. I was like sharing the project, or what are
nope.
you talking about?
Your
3.1.
engineers, if they tell you one thing, it's 3 times longer. If you think you're going to get funding, it's 3 times longer. You got a contract, somebody's like, I want to sale, it's going to take you 3 times longer. So
Nice.
just buckle up and recognize that people aren't going to want to move as fast as you.
Mm,
And so sometimes it's just that's the nature of the game, and sometimes you're just exuberant. I think that's the first thing.
okay.
The second thing is there's a fine line between good vision and wise counsel and discernment,
Okay.
right? Because we've all heard startup founders going like, I got a no, a no, a no, and I finally got a yes. It's really hard to discern between your no's because your ideas are terrible versus no's because that's not the right fit for that individual. And
Hmm.
so I think I don't have a great answer for this bit, but I think the idea is just being discerning to understand when the feedback you're getting is to continue to progress
Hmm.
and to refine versus that's just not a good idea. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're not a good founder. That just means you might not have had that thing yet, you
Yeah.
know? And so the third thing, and this will be my last one, I've learned this over the years, having made a lot of all the mistakes. I made all of them, is great ideas and great visions executed poorly or too quickly will fail no matter how great the idea is. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
and so think about it as like a running back. You could be the best running back on the planet and you've been given the ball, but you go through the line before they've shifted and made a hole for you. The best
Hmm.
running back in the world is not going to get through
Not
that line.
happening. Yeah.
Right, right. And so you have to understand that, you know, your great idea, great vision, it's okay sometimes if it takes a beat. Like, you know, it just let the play develop, you know,
Yeah.
let the play develop and take what the defense gives you. And so I think those are the three things that I've learned, both, you know, sitting in the investor side, the operator side, and in the worker side. So
No, that's some fantastic lessons. I mean,
yeah,
both
yeah,
from the, like you said, both from the investment side as well as from the entrepreneurial side. And how many times would, a venture fund's, best thing that they could ever tell an entrepreneur is, hey, maybe this one's just not the right one.
right.
But at the same time, being that discerning entrepreneur to know, maybe that just wasn't the right venture fund
That's right.
for us.
That's right.
When is a yes, the right yes and the no the right
That's
no.
right.
So that's
We
awesome.
got like 10 other things we could talk about, but I think those are the top of mind ones for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate it. Well, yeah. So talk to me. Where do you think this is going in the next, 5 to 7 years? Obviously, 20 years ago, cybercrime was a big, big issue, and technology just grew like crazy. It's a $300
Yeah.
billion issue now. Identity theft in the last 10 years ago was something that was really picking up. We're seeing this human crime and just this awareness of what's going on in trafficking and child exploitation pick up at a significant level. Seeing some of the litigation happen, some
Sure.
legislation start to pass. But what are you guys feeling in this moment, and then where do you think it's going in the next 5 to 7?
I feel like the crime follows the technology.
Hmm, interesting.
Just it always does, right? Like, who are some of the biggest innovators of the internet and web interaction? There's porn, right? I mean, who was some of the biggest innovators? It was like, scams, things like that. So I think if we take a step back and think about AI and how it's developing, crime is going to follow technology.
Hmm,
And so I think that means we have to make sure we're really, really smart about this. I think that's one bucket. So, like human making money off of the suffering of another human is going to happen. I think that technology curve we're on with AI will be the next tool that it happens with. And we're already seeing that now, right? So, I think as someone who cares about value-based investing, we often see, and I think in our Christian world, that a lot of people run away from AI. They think they think it's too dangerous. We don't want to have anything to do with it and all that. And I think I like Larry Ellison used to say one of the first technical advancements ever was fire. Fire's really good in the fireplace, but it's really bad in your house, you know?
wow.
So let's just make sure that as influencers of culture,
Hmm,
with a value system that we believe benefits culture the best, that we build the best fireplace. And so I think that the trend is going to be for it to be used for exploitation, but we have the opportunity to shape it for good. So I think that's kind of how I think about this, and I think about AI and the future of technology.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see a day 5 to 7 years from now when hotels just didn't have
Just didn't
trafficking
have
in
it.
them
Yeah,
anymore
right.
because
It's too
companies
hard.
like TruePath were making it too
Right, it's
difficult
just
for
too
them to
hard.
operate. That's
That's right.
awesome.
It's just too. I should. Yeah. I mean, that would be the specific goal. But
No, 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 it's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
So talk to me about some of the other things that you've learned and where you guys are digging in on the tech side. You already mentioned a couple patents.
Yes.
What are some of the things that are getting you guys super excited in the technology as you're discovering it?
Yes, I think that's, just to talk about that for a second, I think it's finding new and novel ways to identify and track things. Like, we get our roots in matching a face, which is really interesting, and our patents are in a way to do that with existing cameras. So I think that's pretty novel. I think we're really excited now about how do we do that faster at scale and then be really dynamic in the objects. So sometimes, like, I'll talk about another, partner company, sister company that we like to collaborate with, Deja Vu. Like, if you've had them on, I'm not sure if you have or not, but they're really good at pattern recognition. So you take a pattern and, like, I can find it no matter how I twist it and things like that. What we're trying to do and we're excited about is, like, what if I don't know what that pattern is? I just know red hat with a blue stripe, but I don't have an example of that. So we're really excited about how kind of our patents are being done in a way that will make that to be able to be identifiable real time. So we're really excited about that from a technology side. I
Yeah.
think where we're really excited too is just getting in the field and applying it. Like, we just, like, that's why it's really fun to come to work every day, is to be able to do that and be a part of something I think that is significant.
It's
So
amazing.
yeah,
Well, one last thing I wanted to ask you specifically related to like
sure,
Oracle and your time. You've
yeah,
worked with some big companies
sure,
that are very successful.
sure,
Now you're starting all over again.
yeah,
At a brand new company, just a year in at a startup. What makes you want to make a decision like that? I mean,
like
it's one of
that,
those
yeah,
kind of I could coast off into the sunset, ride to
yeah,
retirement, and do just fine at this place, or
right.
let's go start all over again and build something.
I will tell you, and I do not like the word retirement. I think we were not made to retire. No offense for those that are listening who are. Like, I just, uh, I feel like, I feel like once you hit 40, you finally know stuff.
Mm,
Like, you've got a lot of exuberance in your 20s and your 30s. You're just like trying to get kids out of the house, at 40s you could start seeing, but at 40s like, man, I know stuff now, like, oh, all these
mm,
mistakes, so now I want to apply it. So now that I'm, a little bit older, why would I want to stop now? Now I know more,
yep.
and so I find that I have, I'm a high energy person, as you could probably tell from this conversation.
Yeah.
And I love the line that I heard Tim Tebow say, when he was interviewing with somebody, and they're like, "Man, Tim, you just make me tired." He's like, "I don't want to get to heaven well rested," and
Yep.
that's kind of my like theme right now. So why would I want to not just go play golf once a week? It's because there's a ton of work to do. God has given me energy and ability and a desire to go do that, and I don't want to waste that. I don't want to get to heaven well rested.
That's awesome. Cool. I like it. Well, hey, if someone's listened to the podcast today and they
Yeah,
want to get more involved, I hate the opportunity to get somebody thinking about something, get somebody to feel a little something, and then
no,
not give them a chance to take
absolutely.
action on it. So, where could they go? What is your recommendations?
Super easy. If you want to learn more about what we do, you could just go to truepathvision.com
Okay.
and just go there. You can hop around the site, take a look. It's always growing, but that's the best way to contact. Or you could do hello at truepathvision.com, and you'll get one of the crew to engage with you, whether it's,
Nice.
hey, because we're starting to say, like, hey, I got this stuff at my school. Like, can I watch a bad guy come through the door? And what if somebody has a weapon? And what about my preschool? And so not
Mm,
only are we're fielding a lot of those actually right now,
yeah.
because that's a place where we want to protect the MVP, the most vulnerable people. And
Yeah.
so wherever there's MVPs, we have an opportunity to protect. So if that's you and you don't have a hotel, that's okay. Give us a holler.
Interesting. Okay. Well, man, Jason, thanks so much for being a part of the podcast today. Love
Yeah,
hearing the
man.
story of TruePath. Excited knowing what you guys have built in 1 year. I can't wait to see what
Yeah.
happens in year two.
That's awesome. Thank you for giving me time today. And so it's always good to see you, Vip.